October 1956, on a Hollywood soundstage, the most powerful man in television humiliated his own wife in front of 60 people. One cruel sentence, one public betrayal. The woman who made 40 million Americans laugh every single week did something she had never done before in her entire career and would never do again. She walked off her own set. But what happened in the 3 hours that followed? And why did her co-star march into her husband's dressing room and say something so devastating that he collapsed into tears? That's the story nobody talks about. Here is what really happened. I Love Lucy wasn't just a television show. It was the biggest thing America had ever seen. The first sitcom filmed in front of a live audience. The first to use the 3-camera system. The first to make a woman the undisputed queen of television. And behind it all stood 2 people, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. To America they were Lucy and Ricky Ricardo, the zany redhead and her Cuban band leader husband. Chaos, comedy, love. But by 1956, the magic was cracking. 5 seasons, over 150 episodes, and every single one exposed another fracture in their marriage. Desi's drinking had gotten worse. The whispers about other women had gotten louder. And Lucy, the woman who could make an entire nation laugh, couldn't make her own husband stay faithful. She buried it. Every Monday night she kissed him on camera. Every Monday night she pretended everything was fine. But on this particular October afternoon, something inside her finally shattered. And for the first time in television history, Lucille Ball's real tears would fall on a soundstage floor. What happened next would echo through Hollywood for decades. And what Desi Arnaz whispered through his tears would haunt everyone who heard it. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from today. Curious where Lucy's fans are? Dislu Studios, Hollywood, California. October 14, 1956. Stage 9. The living room set of 623 East 68th Street. The most famous address in America. It's 2:15 in the afternoon. Cameras are being positioned. Lights adjusted. The live audience won't arrive for another 3 hours, but the air is already thick with tension. They're rehearsing episode 162, a simple storyline. Lucy and Ethel sneak out to see a Broadway show. Classic high jinks, the kind of episode they've done 100 times before, but nothing about today feels routine. Lucy stands in the center of the set, her signature house dress, hair perfectly styled, every inch the polished professional that America adores. She's 45 years old, the highest paid woman in all of television, co-owner of Desilu Productions, the studio that doesn't just film their show, but dozens of others across the industry. On the outside, she is controlled, precision, the undisputed queen of comedy. On the inside, she is exhausted, heartbroken, a woman who hasn't slept more than 3 hours in weeks. Last night, Desi stumbled through the door at 4 a.m. He smelled like whiskey and cigarettes and something else, something floral, something that wasn't her perfume. She didn't ask where he'd been. She already knew. Across the set stands Desi Arnaz, 39 years old, dark hair slicked back, that famous smile still charming everyone in sight. He's not just her husband. He's the producer, the business genius, the man who built Desilu from a single sound stage into a television empire worth millions. But lately, the empire has become his hiding place. 14-hour days at the office, meetings that run until midnight, business trips that never require explanation. The crew watches the 2 of them carefully. Camera operators, script supervisors, lighting technicians. They've all heard the arguments through dressing room walls. They've all seen Lucy's red eyes in the morning. Vivian Vance catches Lucy's gaze from across the set. Vivian has played Ethel Mertz for 5 years now, but more than that, she's become Lucy's closest friend, the sister she never had. A silent question passes between them. "You okay?" Lucy nods, forces a smile, but Vivian knows that smile. She's seen it crack before, and today it's about to shatter completely. The director calls out across the soundstage. "All right, let's run the apartment scene. Lucy, Desi, positions, please." Simple blocking. Lucy enters through the front door. Desi sits on the couch reading a newspaper. She delivers her line. He responds, "That's it." 30 seconds of television. Lucy walks to her mark, takes a breath, pushes open the prop door. "Ricky, I'm home." Desi looks up from his newspaper. His line is supposed to be warm, playful, the way Ricky always greets Lucy, but he doesn't speak. He just stares at her, cold, distant. "Desi." The director's voice cuts through the silence. "Your line." "I know my line." His voice is sharp, hard. They reset. Lucy walks through the door again. "Ricky, I'm home." This time, Desi delivers the line. But something is wrong. His tone isn't playful. It's accusatory. Real. "Where have you been, Lucy?" Not Ricky asking Lucy Ricardo. Desi Arnaz is asking Lucille Ball. The set goes quiet. "Let's try it again." The director says carefully. Third take. Lucy enters. "Ricky, I'm home." Desi stands up. Throws the newspaper aside. "Where have you been? And don't lie to me this time." 60 crew members freeze. Grips gaffers. Script supervisors. All of them staring. This isn't acting anymore. Lucy's face tightens. "Desi, that's not the line." He steps closer. His voice rises loud enough for everyone to hear. "Maybe if you spent as much time being a wife as you do running this studio, you'd know exactly where I've been every night." The words hit like a slap. Someone drops a clipboard. The sound echoes across the silent stage. Vivian Vance is standing 12 feet away. Her hands curl into fists at her sides. She's watched Desi take small shots at Lucy for months. Little comments, subtle digs, always about the show, always about control. But this, in front of everyone, this is something else entirely. Desi turns toward his dressing room, tosses one more line over his shoulder. "Call me when she remembers she has a husband." That's when Lucy moves. She doesn't say a single word, just turns, walks straight across the soundstage, and disappears through the side door. Gone. The assistant director looks panicked. Should someone go after her? "Leave her," the director says quietly. But something just happened that has never happened before in Lucille Ball's 15-year career. She walked off her own set, her own studio. The show she built with her own 2 hands, and nobody knows if she's coming back. Tell me which state you're watching from right now. I want to know where Lucy's biggest fans are today. But what Vivian Vance did next would change everything, and the words she spoke to Desi would break him completely. Lucy's cream-cold Chrysler is parked in the studio lot. She gets in, starts the engine, drives. She doesn't know where she's going, just away. Away from Desi, away from the humiliation burning in her chest. 20 minutes later, she's parked at a lookout along the Pacific Coast Highway, gets out, stands at the edge, watching the waves crash against the rocks below. A young couple walks past, holding hands, laughing. They don't recognize her. Just another woman in sunglasses staring at the ocean. Lucy watches them disappear, feels something crack deep inside. She's Lucille Ball, the biggest star on television. 40 million people tune in every week to watch her marriage. But none of it is real. The kisses are scripted. The happy endings come every episode, but never in real life. She had warnings. Her mother begged her not to marry him. The first affair happened 3 months after the wedding. All true, all valid. But standing here now, none of her choices make sense anymore. Desi knows exactly where it hurts. That's why he said it in front of everyone. Lucy gets back in the car, sits there for an hour, thinks about not going back, filing the papers, walking away. But that's not who she is. Her mother raised her alone, worked 3 jobs, never quit. Lucy starts the car, drives back to the studio. By the time she returns, it's 5:45 p.m. The audience is already seated. Vivian Vance is waiting outside her dressing room. "You okay?" "I'm fine." "You don't look fine." Vivian leans against the wall. "He's in his dressing room. Hasn't come out since you left." "What's he doing?" Vivian's jaw tightens. "I don't know, but I'm about to find out." She walks toward Desi's dressing room, doesn't knock, just opens the door and steps inside. Lucy watches through the frosted glass. 2 shadows. Vivian's voice rises. Steel, then silence. Vivian comes back out, face hard. "He wants to see you." I'm not ready. Doesn't matter. Go anyway. What did you say to him? Vivian's eyes are fire. I told him that woman gave you everything. Her career, her heart, her whole life. And you humiliated her in front of 60 people. That's not a husband. That's a coward. He's Desi Arnaz. He does whatever he wants. Not anymore. Vivian's voice doesn't waver. You're going in there and he's finally going to see what he's destroying. Lucy stares at her. This woman who stood beside her for 5 years, who finally said what everyone was afraid to say. Why are you doing this? Because you've been carrying this alone long enough. Lucy nods. Walks toward Desi's dressing room. What she found inside would shatter everything she thought she knew. Lucy opens the door. Desi is sitting in a chair, face buried in his hands. The dressing room is dark except for one small lamp in the corner. He looks up when she enters. His eyes are red, swollen, tears still wet on his cheeks. Lucy has seen Desi Arnaz do many things: charm a room, command a stage, lie without blinking. She has never seen him cry. Lucy, his voice is broken, rough. She doesn't sit, just stands there in the doorway. I was wrong. He stands, his hands are shaking. What I said out there in front of everyone, that was unforgivable. Lucy says nothing. Desi rubs his face, paces across the small room. You know why I said it? Because you're angry at me. No. He stops, looks at her. Because I'm angry at myself for not being enough. For failing you, for becoming my father. Lucy's breath catches. She knows about Desi's father, the drinking, the women, the way he destroyed his family back in Cuba before they lost everything. I look at you, Desi continues, his voice cracking. And I see everything I should be, everything I'm not. And I hate myself so much that I tear you down instead. Lucy's throat is tight. I've given you everything, Desi. I know. I've looked the other way, made excuses, smiled for the cameras while my heart was breaking into pieces. I know. His voice is barely a whisper now. I can't do it anymore. The words hang in the air between them. Desi looks at her. Really looks at her. Maybe for the first time in years. Then he says 3 words. Tamo Lucy. Not Lucille, not Red, not any of his usual nicknames, just Lucy. I have always loved you, and I've spent our entire marriage terrified that I don't deserve you. So, I've been destroying us before you could figure that out yourself. Silence fills the room. We all carry something, Lucy says quietly. I carry the fear that I'm not enough to keep you. You carry the fear that you're too much like your father. Neither of us has to carry it alone. Desi breaks. He sinks into the chair. Sobs shake his entire body. The great Desi Arnaz, television mogul, band leader, businessman, crying like a lost child. Lucy walks over, kneels beside him, takes his hand in hers. We have a show to do, she says softly. He looks up, eyes still wet. How can you even look at me after what I did? Because I love you, even when you make it impossible. He squeezes her hand. We're finishing this episode. Neither of them says, I'm sorry. Neither of them needs to, but they both know something has shifted between them. Whether it can be saved is another question entirely. If this story is hitting you differently, you're not alone. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. What happened that night on stage would stay with everyone who witnessed it, and the years that followed would reveal the true cost of a love that burned too bright. 8 p.m. The live audience has been waiting for over an hour. The announcer's voice booms across the soundstage. And now I love Lucy. Lucy steps through the famous apartment door. The crowd erupts, a standing ovation before she even speaks a single line. She finds Desi's eyes across the set. He nods just slightly, almost invisible. They film the episode. Every line, every laugh, every scripted kiss. 40 million Americans will watch this episode in 3 weeks. None of them will have any idea what it cost to get here. That night they drive home together for the first time in months. No words, just her hand resting on his. Desi doesn't drink that night or the next. For 6 weeks, he's the man Lucy fell in love with all those years ago in New York. But some patterns are too deep to break. I Love Lucy ends its run in 1957. They try the Lucy-Desi Comedy Hour, special episodes. Desperate attempts to recapture what's slipping away. By 1960, it's over. The divorce is finalized on May 4, 1960. Lucy gets the studio. Desi gets his freedom. She doesn't leave her bedroom for 3 days. But here's what nobody expected. They never stopped loving each other. Even after the divorce, even after Lucy married Gary Morton, even after Desi found someone new, they talked on the phone every single week for the rest of their lives. He called her the love of my life. She called him the only man I ever truly loved. Vivian Vance carried the secret of that October afternoon for decades. She only spoke about it once in a private interview near the end of her life. That was the day Lucy stopped pretending and the day Desi finally saw what he was losing. They built an empire together, changed television forever, and they broke each other's hearts in the process. What Desi whispered on his deathbed and Lucy's response reveals the truth about the greatest love story Hollywood never understood. December 2nd, 1986. Desi Arnaz dies at age 69 in Del Mar, California. Lung cancer. Lucy calls him the day before. They talk for nearly an hour. No one knows exactly what was said. When she hangs up the phone, she turns to her daughter and whispers, "I've loved that man for 46 years, and I'll love him until the day I die." April 26, 1989. Lucy passes away at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Heart failure, 3 years after Desi. Their daughter Lucy was asked the question everyone always wondered. Why couldn't they make it work? Her answer was simple and devastating. They loved each other too much, and neither one of them knew how to love themselves enough to stop hurting the other. That's what happened on that soundstage in October 1956. That's why Lucy walked off set for the only time in her career. And that's why Desi Arnaz broke down in tears when Vivian Vance told him the truth he'd been running from. "You're destroying the woman who gave you everything." The episode they filmed that night aired 3 weeks later. 40 million Americans watched Lucy and Ricky laugh together. Nobody knew what it cost. One performance, one perfect take from two people who spent the rest of their lives wishing they could have loved each other better. A television legend walked off set for the only time ever. But what broke her husband down and what their daughter revealed shows that the hardest scenes aren't played on camera. Sometimes they're played inside a heart that never learned how to heal. Most people watch these stories and move on. But this one was meant to be remembered. If that matters to you, you know what to do. What's something you carry that others can't see? Tell me in the comments. And unfortunately, they don't make love stories like Lucy and Desi anymore.